That's like having a picture of that's like one of those government buildings having a picture of the current president.
Yeah, it's weird.
Except way stranger.
It's weird to have the commissioner of your league's portrait on the wall of your room. That's weird. I don't really.
Wait, what room was that? Was that just a room in his house?
It says draft room wall, but this looks like just a room in his house.
Like last year, maybe would be funny when they were doing all the social distancing stuff, and you had like the funniest one was who's the guy? What's his name? Rivera.
Ron Rivera?
Yeah, he was the Redskins, and he had a
Washington football team, sir.
It was obviously like a strange area in his house. It was like kind of like a foyer or something,
There's a good word right there, Ben.
Like an entranceway or something. But like when you first walk into a house, it was almost like
welcome to my foyer.
And he was this is going off memory. It could have been an actual room in his house, but he had an easel standing up randomly, like behind him, and it had like an artistically like a painting with a frame on it of like the logo, I think, with like a weird background, like mountains or something. I'm going way off memory, but it was like most randomly like done, painted, like a commissioned painting they did that's just of like the Redskins logo, but I think it was the Redskins logo. It wasn't the Washington football team.
Yeah, no, because at the time they hadn't gone through all that nonsense.
Right, and he just had this random thing, like someone said, yeah, you can't just stand in a weird area of your house that's like undecorated and unwhatever. We gotta instead of going to a normal area of the house, like, look, I live in a furnished building.
Yeah,
it was no. Let's just put up this strange painting of a logo of a football team framed on an art easel. Like
it's some sort of weird presentation.
Yeah. It was like such a like forced thing.
Yeah.
And it was so like weird and whatever. I can't even really explain it accurately now, a year later, because just because the years passed by and I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday. Speaking of the draft, I guess we dive right in that because that's a thing of interest to both of us. Anyways.
Yeah. And
it's funny because the build up to it, like this week,
the last 3 fucking months, man.
See, here's what's funny is you listen to sports radio every
I do.
day. And I haven't listened to a lick of sports radio one fraction of a second of it
since you stopped working.
Since I stopped working with you. Since I stopped jumping in a truck with you.
Yeah.
And so you came on our group chat and you were like bitching about it. And I was like, I'm like thinking, what's he talking about? I totally forgot there was a draft until like an hour before it happened because it was not. Yeah. I don't put on ESPN.
Yeah, it's been like a countdown for the last 3 months in my head.
I don't when I'm watching, I'm home all day working and stuff.
We had 2 completely different draft lead ups.
Yeah,
where you were just like, oh, it's today. It's almost like how WrestleMania is for me this time.
Yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, I guess.
yeah. So I didn't have any of it, like any of the like who's going where and who's. Nothing.
And I've heard every draft icon's draft board it's been beaten in my brain. So it's like me and my friend Will.
Not only like the general one, but I'm sure like because you get the local guys telling about it's how our team's gonna pick.
Oh, absolutely. And for just the Miami Dolphins, the last couple months has been when it came to our draft. It was everyone with a reasoned mind wanted one of those wide receivers because there was like 4 big ones in this draft, and every one of us wanted one of those 4. Actually, I would say 3. I think if we'd have gotten Devonta Smith, that would have been a swing and a miss, personally. But anyway, the point is like it was just been beating my brain for 3 months. So like it's a tradition for me and my boy Will to get together to watch the draft, and we went to Flanagan's, and I was so happy when we sat down because it meant I'm not going to hear any more lead up to this fucking bullshit event that literally should only take a few hours to do. Because it's just, I picked this guy, I picked this guy, I picked this guy. But the NFL has turned into some kind of weird, like, award show presentation, and it takes, like, 20 minutes per pick.
What's funny is it always takes, they've even, like, tightened the time. It used to be, like, in that first round, instead of being, like, 10 minutes per.
Yeah.
It used to be, like, 15.
God, Lord.
But for some reason this year, I don't know what it was. I think we all were like in some kind of consensus when we were talking on the group thing. You, me, Anthony, Blake. That it seemed to be like just a different experience this year, like a drag on.
It dragged this Jesus,
and I don't know. Maybe it's like in past years they didn't purposefully take all the time every team.
Yeah, it was weird how the clock. And here's
like in years past, you'd have like where once the first guy, like because the first pick can be decided way in the future.
Really. Be honest, it's with like that first pick should like open the draft. Like, oh, by the way, here's the guy from Jacksonville. They know their pick. Here it is.
No, like. Like the deal has been signed, like signed.
It's your first pick, man.
and like the deal's been signed like weeks ago. for some drafts that happens, and then what happens is if it's been where he's already signed the papers and it's a formality, sometimes the second guy gets a deal done before the draft.
Exactly, because
especially this year, the dominoes fall at least for those first two picks. Bang bang.
Yeah.
Man, but to be like
it was almost a half
for
hour
Jacksonville
in.
to take. They schedule. The thing is that like it's a real misleading because they schedule on TV the schedule like the show for the draft starts at like 8.
Yeah.
But they don't start drafting until 8:15. The clock doesn't start for. They do all the Gaga and the So you're like
Roger Goodell took his goddamn time.
So you're like 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes into the show. Before the first guy's even been selected. which also, if you're watching for your team mostly, and most people, have a team and they're not just like they're not just fancy football players. They're watching for every team. And your team's picking like 25.
Yeah. And
25 minutes in the show, we haven't gotten to the first pick.
Yeah, it's excruciating. It's a long night for you. It's a long night. Yeah,
because you don't. I mean, not every football player. I mean, football fan, pro football fan is that knee deep in the college football or knee deep into 3 months of.
But those first 10 picks,
draft analysis. So
those first 10 picks, man, that's what it's really all about.
I guess, but if you're not in those first 10 picks, or your team's not picking there.
Yeah.
And you don't know who these players are yet because they haven't played in the medium you watch. You don't watch college football? Then what is it to you anyways?
It's really not. But, I mean, for me, I like it.
I like it too.
Yeah.
But then we got to day 2, and I'm like...
Oh, no, I never watched past...
Well, day 2's okay because they
on the app, buddy.
They shorten... Well, here's the thing. They shorten the time between picks to like 5 minutes or something. And or like maybe the second round. I don't even remember.
But it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to have that much time. You as a team.
No, it's not because deals are being made all the time. People need time to like pick up the phone and call and arrange to trade and all that stuff. And I understand that. And it's fair to teams that if you're like have on your board. We're either taking this guy or this guy, and then the next 2 teams ahead of you take those 2 guys.
Like what happened to fucking Miami.
You got to figure. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know because I don't listen to all this shit and all this shit that people talk about with with saying, "Oh, this is who the team's going to get." Yeah. They don't know. They're making that shit up. They didn't talk to anyone in that room, and And half the time you hear that, and then the team goes, "No,
I
were
don't.
never interested."
I
in that
don't
guy."
understand how Mel Kiper Jr. has a job
Because you know why?
because he doesn't do anything of real value.
I mean, no, yeah, he does. He provides a lot of entertainment for like 3 months leading up.
I can't stand
All that
him.
sports entertainment,
I can't
all that
stand
sports radio. Everyone wanting to know who's going to go where.
Yeah.
You know why he has a job? Because he says all of his bullshit confidently.
With that haircut.
He says it confidently.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, because the draft is such this, on multiple levels, the draft is this thing where like hindsight is so much clearer.
Yeah.
That like, even if Mel's picks don't go the way they go, if the team drafted someone other than who he said he was going to draft, and that doesn't work out either, Mel goes, see, well, their pick didn't work either.
Yeah.
So it's like, he doesn't look like a fool because they didn't take who he said. They look like a fool because the guy they did pick didn't pan out either. So, so he doesn't, it's not like, and then after you get those first 5 or 10 picks, if one domino falling the wrong way can change the whole draft anyways. And a trade up can
we
foul.
had that.
You get people trading up that claim jump guys, and you're like, well, if this guy fell to this team, they were going to take him.
It's all fucking...
So your draft analysis is good until the draft starts and one thing doesn't go right.
Yeah, so we started this draft this particular year. Everyone knew who the number one was. Everyone knew. If
and yet they still took like 9 of the 10 minutes to make the pick, which I feel means that someone said, listen, we got a show to sell with advertising. This draft can't be an hour long.
It's fucking draft.
Y'all need to take your time making those picks.
No, it was retarded. I understand past the third pick taking your time because that's when things get that can get weird.
Well, because you might be till the last second trying to shop the pick around.
Yeah, and if you don't,
and you're working like 2 or 3 deals with 2 or 3 teams.
Yeah, if you don't watch football, the number one consistent pick this year was Trevor Lawrence from Clemson. He was
sunshine.
He's prettier than his girlfriend. Okay,
but is he? He also at the same time, as pretty as he is, he looks like the weirdest alien-headed fucking.
He's got a weird face.
Big long nose.
He's got a weird face.
It's like a horse head.
Yeah, he'd make good for like a caricature. He's a good caricature.
Like
face.
He's got the long, pretty hair and stuff. But man, like if you drew that in a sketch artist drew that, someone will look at you and go, "Are you sure this person exists?"
He was a consensus number one. Everyone knew he was going to Jacksonville. Jacksonville was number one pick. Urban Meyer. Everyone knew he wanted to bring in fucking Trevor Lawrence. It was the worst.
Any team in that spot would be taking that guy.
On Trevor Lawrence's pro day, Urban Meyer was the only coach to stand on the sideline with the guy as he's going through his shit. And
because he just had to make sure.
Yeah,
everyone
knew, which is why when it took 9 fucking minutes for them to say the pick is in, I went, "What are you doing? Did you forget where the button was?
Right?
Did you just not? No one called.
Right? That pick should have. That's what I was saying to you guys. I'm like, what are we doing here?
What is this nonsense?
Like the pick was in like 2 months ago.
Everyone knew.
Pick was in before they hired the new coach.
Number 1 should be right off the bat. Number 2 should be shortly behind because. They have a just in case kind of. If they don't take that,
well, they might be shopping the pick.
The
only team that wasn't shopping the pick was Jacksonville.
Yeah. They built their entire organization in the postseason. For
someone could have offered them double the Herschel Walker deal. They could have said take all of our picks this year, all of our picks next year, all of our picks the next year, and you shouldn't have traded.
It would have taken a Herculean effort to have gotten them off the number 1, and it wasn't worth it. But here's the fun thing. Okay, so for us, we were picking 6. And there was 3 wide receivers that everyone wanted.
Which, by the way, why we were picking 6 when we were a much better team than 6 is a fun story.
Oh, because
technically we were picking 3.
It's a gas mask pick. I love that guy. He's my favorite player in Dolphins history.
We traded a guy away.
Laramie Tunsil, at number 1, we picked him up, and that was the infamous gas mask incident.
Where what was he posted an Instagram pic of him smoking dope in a gas mask or something, right?
Yes, and it was like a big deal at the time, and we all went.
And now
that was such a Miami
and now
pick.
weed is legal in the NFL, basically.
Yes,
right.
But at the time, it was a big faux pas. It happened on draft night.
Rest in peace, Ricky Williams' career here.
And we picked him, and then 2 years ago, he was our number 1 draft pick, and then we traded him to Houston for a future number 1.
2 1s and a 2 or
was
something.
It was a lot. It was a lot. We got a lot for him, and at the time we were all like, and the Texans were on the cusp of going to the fucking Super Bowl.
They've that's a team that year after year after year is always, quote, one piece away.
Well, they were forever. But then that was the last year. Remember, they drafted him. We got that pick, and we all went, what the fuck, man? That pick's going to be useless. They're like the 3rd best team in the NFL.
Right.
And then the best thing that ever could happen happened.
They
Ben.
became the 3rd worst team in the NFL.
They became the 3rd worst team in the NFL. It was glorious to watch them implode and watch our pick become probably one of the most coveted picks in the draft because we had already gotten our quarterback, and here we are. We're going to have a high draft pick first. We thought first 5, and we ended up with the 3rd pick.
Yeah, we just after about halfway through the season.
Yeah, it was almost assured.
I was almost more rooting against the Texans more than I was rooting for anyone else or against anyone else. Like I was rooting against the Texans more than I root against the Jets, more than I root against the Patriots. Like even against our own best interest for a record that year, or getting into the fucking playoffs or anything, I was rooting for the Texans
Which is
to
great.
lose.
It was great because our record didn't matter last year. Our team was going through a rebuild, so it didn't matter if we won or lose. It just mattered as long as all the pieces we were putting together were working right and getting that time on the field, which is why. It was why a lot of the lead up to this, people were like, "Oh, well, maybe Miami should get another quarterback because Tua doesn't seem like the answer." And like, shut your fucking mouth.
How do you know someone isn't the answer,
dude? It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's ridiculous,
especially
listening to these people.
The guy came off an injury, so he didn't even play the year before.
Yeah, a hip replacement.
Yeah,
a kid got a hip replacement and is now expected to play at an extremely high level. By people that have never been athletic and they're sitting on their couch and, in what, 2 years? Like, no, man, it takes time. And last year, he had really good moments. And now he has, and we had COVID. He didn't have an off season. He didn't have preseason.
Yeah, we didn't have, no one, like, you didn't run any plays before the season started.
You couldn't have had a worse welcome to the NFL preparation-wise than Tua Tagovailoa. And he's gone through the gauntlet. And now he's our starting quarterback. It's his sophomore season. We spent this draft building him up, those tools.
Well, building around him.
Yeah.
I think is what
I think it's building around him. And I think our team, as long as Tua can live to half his fucking promise, we're in a really good position.
I think we're building a lot of speed around him, except we don't have an answer for running back right now.
That was, it's funny. Me and my friend Will, that was the one thing we were just talking about last night where I went, well, I guess running back's just going to be our weakness this year.
I mean,
we have a chance of picking somebody in a later round and getting value out of him.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times people get sunk into money pits with running backs. As soon as you pay them big money, they stop paying dividends.
Dude, Zeke is like the shining example of what happens when you pay a running back.
I mean, sometimes you get a guy that the team, they carry the whole team, but I think that we're going to have so much speed on that offense.
But the era of the running back, I mean, I don't want to say it's dead. It's dead in the traditional sense.
It's not, because when you get into like the end of the season, the playoffs, it just becomes a run.
Well, but like where the league is running back centric, that idea has like passed us. But you do need to have a good quality running back. It seems like, especially for that. It seems like push.
That's the thing we say for most of the season, and then as soon as the playoffs start, it's always feels like it's the teams with a heavy defense and a good running game.
And our defense is there.
Yeah.
Our defense is there, man. We picked up that safety I was all happy about.
Safety's really good, and that pass rusher seems to be... that guy from Miami seems like going to be a real stud.
Everyone's
like, oh, injury.
I'm worried about his health. I'm worried about his. Dude was retired. They didn't say he took a year off. They didn't say sat a year. They said he retired because.
So was Christian. So was Edge. So was Daniel Bryan.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough. I will equate a fake sport with football any day.
Yeah, but physically they weren't allowed to. Like, legitimately, physically.
Well, Christian was on that list?
Yeah, concussion, same as Daniel Bryan.
Oh.
Edge was the one with a broken neck. The other two had, like, head trauma issues. CTE stuff.
And it's funny, it's like, I at first glance, if you look at Christian, you're like, he doesn't look like a guy who's had a lot of head trauma, but we remember the Attitude Era.
Yeah, I mean, they built their names off of 3 words: tables, ladders, and chairs. Before you were encouraged to put a hand up to take a shot of... When, not only did they not discourage shots to the head, but they also didn't tell you to put a hand up in between the chair and your head.
It's funny because you think about it now, and if Foley, the Mankind Rock Royal Rumble match would have happened today, people would lose their fucking minds. They wouldn't get triggered fast enough by that match. which if you've never seen it, it's basically just The Rock mutilating Foley with a chair.
Well, it was
in his head.
It was famously punctuated.
Yeah.
By that documentary. I forget the name of it. Beyond the Mat.
Oh, Beyond the Mat. Yeah, that was right.
Because it showed they were following Foley around, and it showed his family and kids in the audience watching that, like, second row,
just bawling their eyes out.
And the kids are crying, and they're seeing his dad with his hands handcuffed behind him, getting hit in the head by The Rock with a chair, like, 7, 8, 9, 10 times.
It was a lot, and these weren't fake chair shots. These weren't chair shots where we pulled back a little bit. They weren't made to have.
They weren't even, like, angled.
No.
To, like, slide against your head.
It was The Rock's mission to see if he could dismantle the chair over Foley's head.
Right.
That's what it looked like.
Now, in fairness, he was Mankind at the time.
Yes.
So he had that little leather mask padding.
Pretty sure that made it worse. Pretty sure that made it worse, buddy. the leather diaper he wore over his head.
So they after the show was, after the pay-per-view. Like, if you just saw pay-per-view, that's one thing. But in this documentary, they show backstage afterwards, and the kids are crying, and Foley's all bloody, but he's saying, "It's okay, I'm okay." It's it's just a little,
his brain matter is rolling out of his head.
They were traumatized, and he was trying to console them, but he's covered in blood while he's trying to console them, and they're like,
he looks like a fucking Friday the 13th victim.
It's hard to, like, tell your kid I'm okay as you're covered in blood,
and you look like you've been mauled by a bear.
You look like you're Carrie on the way to the prom.
I remember the main thing I remember about that is the documentary where Foley's like, and he never apologized, never called up to check. I think there was heat there. And
I don't know. Was there?
I think there wasn't heat about.
I don't feel like I ever hear. I don't hear, like, those two speaking glowingly about each other anywhere. But I don't hear anyone. I've never heard a negative thing.
I don't think it was heat in the sense that they disliked each other. I just don't think. I don't think Rock liked working with him, and he just was very, like, whatever about it. Like, he just, like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, we'll call the match. I'll be 100%.
I feel like he wouldn't be swinging a chair at his head unless there was a A-OK. But with all the parties involved.
Well, no, obviously, but
and if Foley didn't want to get hit in the head with a chair again, he would just go down.
But listen, coming from somebody who's been in a situation like this before, where you're working with someone, hey, you don't really like them, but you'll be professional, you'll be whatever, and they're calling this spot. Because it very easily could have been like, oh, we want to do this, and Rock could have been like, I don't want to do that, and insist on it. So he's like, all right. And you go out there with that attitude of, okay, you want it. Well, here it is.
Yeah.
You're going to be a little bit more liberal.
Like I don't want to hit you in the head with a chair. And he's like, no, I want you to.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, you asked for it.
You asked for it.
Get it.
Yeah, that kind of attitude. Nothing malicious.
But you know what's
not malicious at all. Although I will tell you, for being in that position, you may get accused of it.
You as strange as it sounds, it was still at a time where we didn't realize what taking blows to the head would actually do to you.
Oh my God, man!
This is before before even that sport with all the like Chris Benoit's and stuff, but it was like early in the NFL dealing with it too. You didn't have like Tua.
That was 98.
I was gonna say, I said Tua like every someone was saying, like Seau killing himself,
Jesus.
or like Chris Nowinski doing that was like real early. I think Nowinski was probably still wrestling then.
No, he wasn't even wrestling yet. This was like 98, 99.
Yeah, so he didn't even become a poster boy, advocate, awareness
years
guy.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is at a time where no one had any inkling there was an issue with CTE or head trauma at all.
Yeah, you called it getting your bell rung.
Yeah, exactly. And
concussions. What the fuck?
We would talk about them. I mean, like, I've had a lot. So it's like, how many concussions you've had? I've had this many, whatever. It didn't matter. It was just a thing. Especially in wrestling, it's like this weird sense of pride. We don't talk about it now, obviously. But, yeah.
It's
crazy,
the whole,
man.
in wrestling, it's the whole... The pride of it is, I don't even remember the rest of that match.
I watched The Undertaker's Welcome to the WWF match with Maven.
Yeah.
And you look back at it and you're just like, oh, Mark. Oh, you beat that kid so relentlessly with a chair. I mean, like some of the headshots he took, I was just like, oh, I feel bad.
Well, I'll tell you this.
Looking back at it, yeah.
Jackie and I had a really good friend by the name of Chris Canyon who wrestled in WCW and was this one we knew this one person.
Yeah.
And I'm sure over the course of time he took a lot of shots to the head and bumps to the back of the head and accidental, purposeful, everything in between. When he went to the WWE, and he came out of that box, and they did that whole Boy George thing, and Undertaker fucking hit him over the head with a chair a couple times. I swear to God, Jack and I both said that was when it happened.
Yeah,
that was when whatever happened to his head happened to his head. Yes, he probably was bipolar and this, that, and the other thing. But whatever happened after he got whatever those specific chair shots did to him, absolutely changed him.
Yeah,
and changed his personality. He became way off his nut. Like it was not a manageable thing anymore. He was paranoid. He was bipolar. He was crazy. None of this stuff was like you didn't even get a whiff of it before that.
Yeah.
And then after he took those shots to the head, it was just this fucking roller coaster down. And with him killing himself.
Yeah.
But he may have. Listen, I'm not saying it made him gay. Yeah. And I'm not saying it made him this or made him that. But after he made all these weird decisions with his life, not that coming out is a weird decision, but then his behavior afterwards was just like it's hard to explain. And I don't want to say that. But he just became this totally different person.
Yeah.
Or maybe became three different people. It was very weird. There were times where he was this great guy to be around with. Other times you're like, you would have sworn he was on every drug in the book by the way he was acting. And it was the same person. Maybe it was because he was off the drugs. But the reason he needed the drugs had been wildly exacerbated by getting hit in the head. I'm probably doing a poor job of explaining this. But we just had, the experiences we had with him before and after he took those shots to the head are just wildly different. And they're wildly consistent before.
Yeah.
And then to have that sharp of a fucking
left turn,
left turn, right turn, whichever way you want to go.
Apparently he went all kinds of ways.
It's off the beaten path is what it is. And it was more public with his craziness too. He was on the Stern show and he was doing shoot videos and things like that. But then also in person we saw him and it was like he was just nuts. He showed up to WrestleMania in Orlando that year to hang out with us.
Yeah.
He wasn't signed anywhere or anything. He shows up in this white van full of shit in it with a guy he was like dating at the time, and he was just nuts. He was like just at one point I'm going to go around as the masked goalie. And he was just like walking around like in gimmick, like kayfabing himself and fucking with people. Harley Race was like wheeled out to the curb, waiting for to get picked up to go somewhere. He was like in a wheelchair at the time, or it was like easier for him to get around in a wheelchair. Like he was mobile, but like let's not.
He's mobile within like 10 feet.
Let's not. I mean, yeah, like we're at WrestleMania weekend. He's doing all these things. Let's at least keep him comfortable and rested until he needs to stand up to take a picture of someone or do, or whatever, or walk 10 feet to get an award or whatever they were doing with him. All these bookings these guys take on WrestleMania weekends. We watched him drive the van and pull up to where Harley Race was. And he's got the mask on, so you can't even. And he just starts berating him. I don't remember about what. Something about wrestling and yada yada. And like leave this old man alone. Like, what are you doing? And why are you doing it like this? Like as this like masked anonymous, in a white like rape van kind of thing. It was crazy. The funniest thing was he's walking through the hallway at the WrestleMania hotel. We're walking like we're with him, but because he's doing this insane thing, we're with him, but we're like 20 paces behind, just watching him. We're not quote with him if anyone's asking. You know what I mean? Because he's just operating on some other plane of existence at this point, and not a good one. And he's walking and giving people the business as he's like, and Helms is coming the other way. And Helms recognizes him immediately because he knows he's good friends with him. So he recognizes his build and whatever. And he's just laughing like, what are you doing? And I think people didn't understand, or when they would catch a little piece of it at times like that, they didn't realize what was really going on. Yeah. And we didn't either. We're just like, what's going on?
This is all hindsight.
Absolutely. Because you can't. It's hard to place things together until the pictures.
And there's so much more information now that you can look back at that kind of stuff.
But even then, you're like, you don't realize what's happening until it's happening, and then all of a sudden he's dead.
Yeah. Like if
he's dead, he's committed suicide, and now you're trying to figure everything out.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's like all these little pieces and glimpses start to make more sense in a bigger picture.
Like, it makes me wonder if Benoit had started. Like, the last couple months when you hear from everybody that say he would act weird, he would totally off kilter sometimes,
but not violent.
Not violent, but just seem like he's off. Like, if you had the information now back then, people would obviously go like, "You're a walking, talking CTE case. We need to get you as many CAT scans as a cat can scan."
Right. No one ever,
yeah.
no one ever gave him 5 words to remember at the beginning of a conversation and asked them what they were at the end.
Yeah, like he's like a glowing beacon of fucking a CTE fucking therapy. It was so obvious now. You look back at it, but back then it was just like, all right, well, Chris is off, I guess.
Well, also I think
maybe a bad day.
Maybe drug use was a little more prevalent back then. So either you could dismiss it
a little
in one way or the other. Also, that half the guys were probably on perks and whatever, and they weren't being as observant as they should have been because their senses were a little.
I know of a very particular, fairly famous wrestler that used to be known as the Soma King. Mm-hmm. I think we both know that same person. I'll tell you there. Another wrestler had told me that from his TNA experience. But yeah, no, it's weird looking back at some of the stuff because you watch it now back. Because I get weird into like Facebook, the videos, and wrestling will come up and. Like an old match will come up like Undertaker, Jeff Hardy, the ladder match at Raw, and you're like, I remember that being a cool moment. I'll watch that. And I'm immediately two things. I'm like, wrestling, it's not even like on the same plane of existence as it is now.
It's way more gruesome than you remember it sometimes.
but it's
when you know about head cases and things.
But
like
but it's just and this is my opinion.
Head injuries.
This is my opinion. It's so much better. I mean, there's not even a conversation to be had. It's so much better. But like you watch it, and then you're watching this match, and you're just like, bing, bing, bing,
yeah,
bing.
right.
You're just like, stop, Jeff, stop hitting your head. He's like, you've got like 3 concussions in the last 5 minutes.
Right.
How are you still alive? And on the same note, and I'm not advocating for this all the time, but like they should save it for like one really special moment. But I just dying to see someone just get fucking myrtleized one great
Drilled,
hit.
huh?
Just drilled in the head. But I wanted to be really. I wanted to make sense.
I'm making the strongest eye contact I can. It will never fucking happen.
I know, man. I know.
I think the closest. I think AEW has done it a couple times.
Have they?
Cringe-worthy fucking headshots.
Really? That surprises me.
Well, I think Spears' gimmick, the way that he remember you were watching. I think you watched that pay-per-view. I don't think it was AEW at that All In before it was AEW, maybe, or maybe it was the first AEW. He like swings a chair and cracks Cody on like the side back of the head, and like the way the chair's cut or whatever, it wrapped around and it like made this huge gash in his head.
Oh wow!
That they had to like stitch up.
I don't know if I remember that.
And it was kind of like one of those. We're gonna do one.
Yeah.
It was like that thing you're saying, like one, just one.
I'm not advocating. I'm like just one moment.
And so now then they called him. They've been calling him like the chairman.
Yeah.
After that, because
and
he would walk out with a chair.
Because if you're really smart, you pull that moment off right, you can define an entire gimmick or entire run and anything out of that. Because it's just like, oh well. Because to me,
but you owe half your pay for the and rest of the time to the guy that took that shot.
Oh yeah.
I mean, in all fairness,
and if
you got someone that's willing to take that risk of becoming, scrambled eggs for the rest of his life,
and actually, to be fully honest with you, I don't expect them not to put their hand up. Put your fucking hand up, man.
Right.
I mean, listen. It's just
it's the real world. Why wouldn't you defend yourself?
Yeah, it's in that it's no, I'm not getting that. But it's one of those things where just the act of the chair shot to the head is shocking enough. We don't have to take it the extra step and make sure that you can't remember your name.
So here's the question: How does us talking about the NFL draft come into like
concussion
become like talking about wrestlers taking headshots?
Because what we're talking about was way more entertaining than that bullshit fucking presentation, the drawn out, just dragged out. Like, bro, just get it over with, man.
So what's funny is on day 2, I started watching, and I watched. Luckily, we had an early pick again, so I watched to that, and then I was like, it was on for a little bit, but I'm like, I don't know if I could get to our second round pick, let alone our third round pick.
Yeah. So
I'm like, I don't know. And right as I'm like thinking about changing the channel, I see that we are next on the clock. We traded up. I'm like, thank God. So we traded up.
Is that when we got the offensive tackle?
Probably. I can't remember.
I'm excited for that guy.
So we trade up. I think about 30 seconds after they make the pick, where they're showing where the guys are done showing a little highlight film on the guy and talking about the dude. I changed the channel. And I'm like in the middle of watching that new Tom Clancy movie on Amazon, and I go, let me jump back and see where we are in the draft. I jump back literally in time to see that we're on the clock again. Make the pick. I'm like, okay, well, I know my team's now done for the day. And I switch right back to the movie. It was like the perfect. Like I didn't even have to like keep checking the phone.
Yeah.
I like totally forgot the draft was on. I go, I forgot.
Yeah.
We have another pick. Let me go. Flip over. Magically, it was our pick. Happening as I flipped over. I literally watched the draft for another like 3.5 to 4 minutes. I was like, okay, my work is done here, and I went back to.
See, it's the call of the Johnson.
What's that?
The called the Jackie Johnson. He's just like, hey, it's our turn. He lets you know telepathically.
Okay.
And then you just turn on the TV.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, why isn't it that Bud Light back in the fridge?
Because I'm like thinking, why does that have to be refrigerated?
Oh, that's a fair point.
Why am I refrigerating a beer that's never going to get drunk?
That's a really fair point. I hadn't even considered
so
that.
we have Jackie's last beer that he left here.
Well, he's coming back for it.
Right. What is this?
He'll be back for it.
When the rapture comes or whatever.
That'd be great. The rapture comes, he comes back just for this beer. Not his kids.
Well, I mean, it would be part of it. It'd be part of the circuit.
It will be the first part because he needs something to drink on the way to the second part.
Right, our buddy who liked to drink a lot of beers left a beer here and then never came back for it before he died. So when we did the Abandonment Monday podcast to remember him and the time we left him in Orlando for being a drunk son of a bitch, we took the beer out of the fridge to have it here with us, and I never put it back, and now you're asking why it's here. I'm like, well, why am I refrigerating?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And I'm glad we're able to tie Jackie into the Dolphins draft.
Oh, right. Well, that's the thing too. He was the biggest Dolphins fan to the detriment of the team because he was absolutely a mush. Like he would get on early and start proclaiming victory, and then which would absolutely snatch defeat out of the mouth of victory.
He did do something for me though, because of Jackie, I got to meet Earl. We got to like go to the games and I remember when I saw Cam Wake for the first time up close in person, like standing next to me, I went, "Oh, you're a different level above." Because at the time I was still working. And, I'm in what I consider to be really good shape. And I stand next to Cam Wake and I go, "Oh, you're the next step. You're that next evolution above me." And I could never look like that or be whatever you are.
At 5'7", I'm like 2 steps down. You're 1 step down. I'm 2 steps down.
It was just insane to stand next to someone like you're a super athlete.
Right. It is that picture of having two people stand next to each other and go, how are these like the same? Like it's almost like two breeds of dog.
Yeah,
like, it's how is a Chihuahua and a Mastiff in the same family of animal? That's the same way. You stand someone like not like forget me like someone small.
Same with Earl, man. Earl's just like Earl's not even like big for a lineman, and you're just like, holy fuck.
He's pretty big.
No, Earl's a big dude.
I think he's about the right size for a lineman.
Oh man, it's just like you just wonder like
he didn't have the big
how big
he wasn't. He might have been as heavy as some.
It makes me wonder, like, what if you stand next to some of those big centers, or like stand next to Sue? I mean, you must just feel like a small child. Like when Arnold, the famous picture of Arnold, in between Andre the Giant and Will Chamberlain, and he's like they're holding him up, like he's a small kid. And you're like, that's Arnold fucking Schwarzenegger,
right? Who in movies, cuts a pretty impressive figure.
Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy when you stand next to somebody who's just like that next step, and you're like, oh wow, like it's just really evident. So yeah, Jackie did get me experience that. So that was eye opening because you're just like, oh, I'll never reach that. Like that must be what happens when you meet Brock Lesnar. Where you're like, yeah, you're just not that person. You're someone
right. But
different.
those are like they say you can't coach that stuff.
No, you can't. You can't evolve it. You just are.
Yeah, you're big.
You come out of the womb and you're like, oh, you're special. Right. Oh man. So Ben, I did a thing this week.
Okay.
I did a thing.
By the way, I really appreciate you wearing the dad.
I did it for you.
Loading. Please wait. Shirt
I would 100% wore this for you today.
It helps remind me that we haven't done your.
We'll do
your weird object.
The weird object we'll do. We'll have to catch up. Actually, we're a few weeks behind.
Did you ever get tempted to buy a green paint pen and fill more of it in?
You do understand that you're now like the 10th person who told me that, so I feel obligated that I might have to do that now. And I'm gonna do something like I'm gonna get like I got like house paint or like spray paint, and I'm just gonna do that.
A spray paint sounds like a whole production because now you got to tape it off and everything.
Or maybe I'll just put a piece of tape over it.
Well, now you're going like really low. minimum effort, low rent. There's like a world of difference between like, listen, that's overkill, and like, I guess underkill.
Like, I guess you tried.
Right.
So this week I installed we've had it sitting in the house for almost 3 months, and I fought it. But then this week I installed the bidet that my wife had purchased 3 months ago. And let me tell you the kind of absolute fucking journey that this
So are you
was.
saying that
I have a bidet in my bathroom.
more importantly, this is the cleanest asshole you've ever brought to my house?
The cleanest asshole that's ever been to your house.
Does it whistle differently?
I think my farts have a different octave at this point. Yeah. So I go to install this fucking thing, and the first thing I realize when I go to install it,
You got to take the seat off, right?
is that
and
the
put it like
seat
in between.
is that the seat that we have when we came into this apartment
Yeah.
does not work with this bidet.
Ah.
So then I go to buy another seat, one that will work with the bidet. I buy the wrong seat. Instead of the elongated toilet, I buy the fucking round toilet.
You dummy.
Because I just grabbed something at Home Depot because I was just not. I was like, I was annoyed. And then when I come back and realize I'd gotten the wrong seat, I was extra annoyed. But I wasn't annoyed at anything other than myself and the next journey. Because, dude, when I'm at the house, I'm high most of the time. I don't want to go out. That's a production. So it's like to do that, then have to go back out to Home Depot. So anyway, I do that. I put it all together. I don't know how bidets work. I understand the concept of how they should work, but I've never seen one in action. I've never used one.
How on the scale of water hose that's, that you would use outside, that now you've installed in your bathroom, and deluxe like heat, like seat warming, talk to you, play gentle music, multiple temperatures. Where in the range did she get this one?
No, it's just a standard bidet. It just shoots regular water. Right. It doesn't heat it up. It doesn't sing to you.
No, I mean, because you could literally just hook a garden hose up with one of those squeeze spray things and just reach between your legs and give yourself a spritz.
So I install the whole thing, the new lines, the whole nine yards. And I'm sitting there staring at it. I'm like, well, I have no way of really knowing if I've done the good job or not. Because
you don't read instructions.
Well, no, I was reading the instructions, but I'm just like, I've never seen a bidet in action, so I turned the fucker on.
Did you get hit right in the eye?
I didn't, but it shot and hit the top corner where the roof meets where the ceiling meets the wall.
Yeah.
Like a stream, like a shotgun right across to it, and I turn it back up. I'm like, what the fuck is that supposed to do to your body?
Power clean it.
Jesus Christ! It's a fucking.
It's like those guys that were. It's like those guys that were brightening up our sidewalks and curbs a week ago.
My colon's gonna be clean for the first 3 feet inside, man. Jesus Christ! So then I realized that there's two different knobs. One for light to heavy, and one for It doesn't say. It says self-clean, but it's basically the nozzle that you get to choose the pressure coming out. Because, dude, full blast? No bueno, sir. No bueno. That's way too much.
You haven't built up a callus for that yet?
I will self-admittedly say that I've used it like twice since I installed it. It's still a weird concept to me. And it's just, and I feel weird being weird about it.
I feel like after the first time, there would never be a time where you had the opportunity and not take advantage of it. I feel like at some point you just go in there to get a little freshened up. You're not even in there to do a job. You're just in there for a quick blast, like just a.
It's like putting deodorant on before you go out.
Yeah, let me just spritz my asshole a little bit, or even if you turn it up high, it's probably a better alternative than all those energy drinks. That'll wake you up.
Oh, buddy, man, it's a feeling. I'll tell you that, and it's just so weird because I realize I'm like so much of.
How cold is that going to be on the cold days here?
Oh my God, I can't even imagine. But so much of the world uses bidets, and it's just like I'm discovering it for the first time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a bidet now. And
So what you're saying is, if I was to buy one, I'm gonna have a whole toilet seat issue. Well, I mean, obviously,
yeah, you probably have the same.
We all have the same toilet.
Yeah,
seats.
you'll have to you buy one of the.
You don't think I could
seats.
just like zip tie it on? And
No,
not worry about it?
because the way the bidet thing works, there's like a door that opens up, and the way the toilet seats are, they mold down in the toilet, so you can't, the door won't open. So you got to get one of the toilet seats. Like you almost get one of the cheaper ones.
The flat.
There's just completely flat ones. Yeah.
Oh,
That's a tip for everyone at home.
the things you learn.
So,
wait. So did you? When did you last use it?
when did I last use the bidet?
I mean, am I getting a clean Barco in here, or have you?
I
Here we go.
I didn't have to poo this morning, so I didn't use it.
All right. But since but you're saying you've only used it a couple times.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if.
What the fuck? Okay, so I haven't looked at this app yet. Holy shit. Okay, so this is this is how big my baby is at 25 weeks.
I love how
in.
we just all of a sudden.
I just opened the app. I was going to do the whole song and dance like I usually do, but the first thing that appeared was your baby's as big as Zach Morris's brick phone, and I can't. It kind of took me out, man. So
I had to like pause and remember who Zach Morris is. I didn't watch that.
He's the original white privilege. So 25 weeks, my baby's as big as Zach Morris's brick phone. Jesus Christ, man. Those phones were... My baby can't be that large, okay? I look at my wife and I can't imagine a cell phone of that size in her body. That just doesn't compute. My baby's as big as an eggplant. Again, eggplants are all shapes and sizes. This is weird. Or my baby's as big as the shaving cream can from Jurassic Park, a Barbasol shaving cream can. So in other words, my baby's going to come with the genetic markups of 10 or 12 different species of dinosaur. I'll take that. I could make some money off that. 24 weeks. So we missed last week when my baby was as big as a Sega Game Gear.
I don't even know what that was. One of those handheld deals?
Yeah. Your baby was as big as an order of cheese fries from Mean Girls. Who makes this shit up?
I don't know. It's fucking...
This fugazi ass app.
Yeah, it's terrible. It doesn't tell you anything.
Oh shit! I'll tell you what though. She has started to move, so you can feel her now, doing cartwheels and shit in the fucking womb. That's a very interesting feeling. Because it's oh, that's my baby, but it's just but still not. There's no access there, you know. It's kind of weird. Natalia hasn't got to the point where she's actually asking complete strangers to, hey, feel my baby.
We're in the COVID area.
Yeah, I know. I have to have that talk with her. 'Cause she gets excited, and I'm just okay, well, this is.
Oh, I thought she was still nervous, fucking.
No, she's
about.
Well, she is.
She is.
We're still trying to organize to get me my shot.
Would you quit banging that thing?
I can't.
What the
sorry.
fuck,
I
man?
Sorry. Got everybody.
I forgot. I have to have every conceivable object out of arm's reach of you.
I fidget a lot during these podcasts because I don't sit well.
I'm gonna make you do what my dad used to make. One of the kids
This
that
is why
would come over to my house when we would eat dinner.
Yeah.
He was all fucking all over the place. So my dad finally was would make him hold with one hand, hold one of the legs of the table.
Just to get him to stay still.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's 100% me, man. That's 100%.
He would make the kid. I don't remember the details of it, other than hold the table leg. I don't know the logistics of eating and cutting food and whatever. I guess you could, if you're not eating, you're holding that table leg. And
it's but see, it's this is why I couldn't do school, because sitting for fucking 8 hours was like torture for me. 100% like torture for me. I obviously probably should have been on some medication as a child, but that was the 80s and early 90s, and nobody ever thought.
Why
about
are we
that kind of
stopping as a child?
Well, yeah. I will say that the few times in my life that I've had Adderall, my life has improved greatly.
Well, I don't. You got your green card now. You'd be medicating. I don't know.
I'm always medicated. That's my.
Did you leave that? Did you leave that at home?
No, but I smoked a bowl before I came here.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I've got.
Last time you came, you left the fucking pen on the floor.
I got my pen right here, buddy. This is for the Nerdcast. Nerd Talker, whatever. I'll never get it right.
Nerd stuff. Yeah. What else you got?
I don't know, man. I mean, it was kind of like a blase week, you know.
Yeah, I had a very quiet week. We should get back and tell some stories, but
we got really into it with the draft, and then somehow got into concussions that I don't really know how or why we got into. Where neither one of us are very qualified to talk about these things. But I don't think we don't try to like persuade or pursue like.
I don't know where we jumped the rail, but
yeah, we did. We totally jumped the rail.
I feel like it's way too easy for us to talk about head injuries when it comes to football. I don't know why. Maybe because we're around the wrestling. Oh, by the way, being around the wrestling business, just to cover this.
Oh, is this an update?
I mean, I don't think so. But we were talking with AJ about his match with Billy. And
this is an update.
And then Billy apparently called J-Dog.
Oh, do we want to talk about this?
I'm going to fucking talk about it.
Okay.
Because we had different people that listen to the different shows. Billy talked to J-Dog and told him to call Anthony to have him come and wrestle on the show before theirs. And so, like to get him so he's not like totally rusty, no pun intended, but knocked the ring rust off of him and whatever. And first thing that came to my head was I didn't realize that this like remembrance of Rusty, this kind of like get together, was anything that involved actual wrestling.
Yeah, it's phrased in a way. The first like paragraph or two is phrased in a way like, "Hey man, we're gonna get together, we're gonna tell old stories, we're gonna have some food and fun, and everything's gonna be great." And then you're like, "Oh, well, this is kind of cool, like a cool remembrance."
And then all of a sudden, AJ's booked on booked in one of 9 matches at the fucking thing. So here's my irritant, is that Billy's trying to do storyline, where it's like AJ's gonna knock some rust off. He's gonna work Alex G and the Soul Man, and then at the end of it, I guess do some storyline where Billy and him get into it a little bit, to be continued at Anthony's final match, retirement, execution, burial, all that shit. When he fights Billy, that's all fine and good. What irritated me was that I was trying to get away with not going to the goddamn thing. I was friendly with Rusty, but he wasn't like I didn't go to school and learn.
Yeah.
I didn't have that relationship with him. I had the after relationship with him where he liked me.
Yeah.
He invited me to things and stuff like that. I would go to those. We went to a couple of those lunches or whatever before he got where he couldn't do them anymore. Where like his dialysis schedules and all that, it just didn't work for him to be doing that anymore. And those were fun and whatever. But I was like, maybe I can get away with not going to something that's kind of like grim and whatever. And plus, we've both spoken about how 90% of the people there we don't want to see or talk to or whatever. And they're all phonies and fakes and fucks. And
that's my dilemma. Because I'm on the other side of you.
Well, and I'm like, but I'm with you, but I feel I agree with you on that. Yeah. And Anthony was like, well, I'll be in town, so I'll probably go. And I'm like thinking, well, have fun. Yeah. And now I've got to go because he's wrestling at this fucking thing. Now I got to deal with all these phonies and fucks and garbage people.
See, my thing is like,
I'll be happy to see some people
for J-Dog, for Flex. And for everybody that was close with Rusty, I totally want to have, be able to see them and give my regards. I mean, Rusty did so much for me. and I'm just one of hundreds of cases of people that he's just done stuff for, even if it's just little things here and there. So I obviously am going to go and pay my respects. But I don't want to get too deep into the weeds with some of those people.
Yeah.
Everyone's
going to want to talk to you.
I
too.
walked away and quit, and this is the problem. I never came back. I left, and that was that. What did I go to? 1, 2 shows after that, sprinkled sporadically. In the last, I walked away in 2016 April. It's 2021, and I've been to all of maybe 2 shows that I can recall. And I don't count the one I went to see AJ when I was in Ocala, because that was oof. that was almost not a wrestling show. some backyard extravaganza. So yeah, man. I've been gone. So I haven't seen any of these people in a long time, and everyone's gonna want to play that same game you play when you haven't seen somebody. Like, hey, buddy, what's been going on? How you been doing? I don't.
Let's all shake hands and talk.
But at the same time, I'm not gonna be an asshole. Like I don't want people to think like I'm just gonna show up and tell people to start fucking. Like, I don't.
Well, it's someone's. It's not the place for it.
No, it's not the place. It's not the time, and I'm not that person anymore, and I don't care. I really don't care. But I also don't want to sit there and play pretend. So it's going to be a weird thing.
You're going to have to.
I'm going to have to play a little bit of... I'll play polite business pretend. I have no problem with that whatsoever, man. Maybe some people that I'd rather not. I'll shake their hand. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I was just excited to...
But to have to stay for a show?
Yeah.
That's a completely different ask.
Yeah. I was...
AJ's kind of not thinking of his friends here.
I feel like that's the thing. Is like,
Billy, we love you, and we're glad you're excited about this so much so that you're willing to put all this extra work and effort to make it special, if just for AJ. But why do we have to stay?
Right. I'm annoyed. This is gonna be my first outing in real pants in a long fucking time.
It's true,
man. It's been a good run.
Oh, shit.
The fucked up thing is I might have to diet down to fit in those pants these days. So this is just not going to work.
And that's another thing. It's like, man, no one's seen me in 5 or 6 years.
You look the fucking same.
No, I don't.
I mean, in a t-shirt you do.
Oh, fair enough.
What, are you going to show up in your fucking outfit? In your gear?
No.
Yeah.
I don't even know where my gear is anymore. I think it's in storage.
Yeah, so I'm a little annoyed with Anthony for doing it. And so we were giving him shit about it. Well, first of all, I was like, listen, you're going to wrestle in front of people down here the next month. This is kind of diluting your one and only appearance.
Yeah.
And then he immediately, I think Blake was giving him shit about it too. So all of a sudden my phone rings. And he's like, fuck you guys, I'm doing it. I need to do it. There's nowhere to work out up here. I need to do the thing and blah, blah, blah. I kind of want to do it, yada, yada. And I'm like, whatever, man. He's like, and as we're talking about it, Blake's still giving him shit on the thing. So I'm coaching him what to say. I go, just tell him, don't worry. You're not invited to either of these places anyways. You're not welcome. You're not welcome at J-Dog's or Dave's right now. So, we were just it became an exercise in pushing Blake's
Blake is such a weird place. He has this weird heat for somebody who really shouldn't have any of this heat.
He's created it all upstairs. It's all upstairs.
He's gonna show up and Dave is gonna shake his hand.
Nobody's mad at him. Nobody's mad.
And he's gonna in his head he's just gonna wait for a conversation that has no intention of being in place. And
I said to Anthony, I said, he thinks he's created this heat with Dave that doesn't exist because Blake is this weird fucked up guy where man, maybe I shouldn't be saying this on the
I was gonna say, how far deep do you want to go on this?
I want to go on this. Is that apparently, from what I heard, there's no heat. He, like a man, told Dave, listen, I'm going to start working for CCW. There's more dates and they're paying more.
Yeah.
And I'm even assuming that's what he said. And Dave said, okay. No hard feelings.
Yeah.
You're that's, what am I going to say? Work less dates for less money for me? It's like, or whatever combination.
You have an opportunity, take it.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you for coming to me.
So I think Blake is mad at Dave for not being mad at him for going.
My brain
doing
can't
this.
handle that right now.
You know what I mean?
My
But
brain
you-
can't handle
but
that
you know
right
what I
now.
mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
Like he wasn't he wasn't fought for
Listen,
or something like
Ben,
that.
who are you talking to? Who has created more heat in his mind than me? Okay? Do you know another person who's created more fucking situations that didn't exist than I have in my fucking life?
No, Blake's created more than you for sure.
Well, recently, yes. I've given up the mantle. Okay, gladly you can have it. But 6 years ago, I was making all kinds of shit up in my fucking head.
As long as I don't put Blake's name in the title of this podcast, he won't listen to it anyway. So
I think if you put his name in, he wouldn't listen to it anyway.
yeah, he does. He does sometimes.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Blake, for supporting us.
Yeah, I think he's created something that isn't there, just so that there's something there. I don't know. But anyway, I'm sure if he showed up
I just think
to either of those events, everyone would be happy to see him.
I just think that if there's an opportunity to do live commentary, I'm gonna pull Jeff aside and if I gotta stay here, I'm doing something. Give me a mic.
That's not good.
That's a great idea.
I think that's a
Great idea, Ben.
On the spectrum of bad ideas,
That's a great idea.
you're hitting you're batting your average.
Imagine if Bobby showed up and it was me and Bobby with live mics in our hands.
Is Bobby coming down for this thing?
I don't know.
I highly
It's
doubt
Bobby
it.
Rogers, bro. Listen. Bobby at this point is like a weird wizard. He just shows up and does things.
He'd rather fly you to him than come see you, I think.
Well, I think Rusty did a lot for Bobby Rogers.
I understand that, but
a lot. I think if we want to be honest, it's between us and the listening audience. Fucking Rusty Brooks is mostly responsible for Bobby Rogers, for better or worse. For better or worse.
I was gonna say
There's an argument to be made the other way, of course.
those are not things to be said publicly, like at his funeral or whatever. What are these things called?
It's a celebration of life, sir. I can see the energy drain right out of Ben's face as I said it.
Well, I'm not gonna lie and say I didn't have fun at Jackie's.
Yeah.
But are you supposed to have fun in these things? That's the weird thing. It's like I don't know.
You feel weird. You feel weird.
I felt guilty.
Yeah.
Basically going somewhere where I saw a lot of people I hadn't seen in a while and having a lot of fun talking with them.
You feel obligated, you have to have these sad conversations and force each other at the same time. You're like, hey, man, I haven't seen you in 10 years, man.
Yeah, there weren't that many sad conversations, to be honest with you.
No. And listen, because everybody that showed up knew Jackie.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like someone showed up and like, oh my God, Jackie's dead. Oh, he just wanted us to be sad and stuff. No, Jackie would have been laughing about this too. Yeah. Well, I don't know, man. I'm pretty much all out.
Yeah.
The only things I want to talk about now are things that we talk about in the other podcast. So everybody make sure to like, subscribe, buy our merch.
Nobody does any of that.
I know, but we have to say it.
I feel like we're shouting into the dark. Well, we may need to format these a little differently. I don't know how it's going to go.
Okay. Like what?
I don't know.
Do you have
I feel
ideas?
like we have. I feel like we're the most disorganized podcast. Like second year in, we should be we should have like where's our music intro and our
Oh, you mean effort?
yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. Now that you've used the E word, I'm realizing, what am I, crazy?
I mean, you're describing his effort.
I feel like that needs to land somewhere else. So I'm all efforted out.
All right. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.